Hello dear students, good morning to all of you. Today we will start the discussion or revision of the third chapter, that is public, private and global enterprise. So dear students, in this term, first of all, we will discuss about the different sectors or different enterprise. So first of all, basically sector of business was divided into two parts. First is public sector and second is private sector. So dear students, in public sector, it was divided into three kinds. First is departmental undertaking, statutory corporation and government companies. Dear students, these were two sectors under which all the sectors of business has been categorized. So today we will discuss about the first, that is public sector enterprise, and we will discuss all the sectors or we will discuss all the enterprise under it. So public sector enterprise means the public sector consists the various organizations owned and managed or controlled by both government. It means either by central government or by state government. So the government participation in the economic activity is over there, and which is meant or which is running for the growth and development of the society, for growth and development of the nation, for which is meant for public welfare. Simply we can say that in public company or public sector enterprise, capital is contributed by central or state government both. Second, it is meant for public welfare or service is the main objective. Third is management and control are in the hand of government. Thereafter, fourth is it is accountable to the public. It means these organizations are, it means public sector enterprise are responsible for the growth and development, for public welfare and or service, which is the main objective of the public sector enterprise. Now these public sector enterprise has been categorized into three types. First is departmental undertaking, statutory, second is a statutory corporation, and third is government companies. So today we will discuss about these three. So first of all, we will discuss about the departmental undertakings. Dear students, in departmental undertakings, these are established as the department of ministry and are financed and managed and controlled by either by central government or by state government. For example, Indian Railway, Post Office, Telegraph Department, etc. So in these departments we find the following features. First, there is no separate entity or separate legal entity of these departments. These departments are completely related or completely, the existence of these departments are completely related with the existence of the state and central government. As the state and central government will change, their appearance will change. Existence will be there, but their appearance will be changed, because each and every government make the changes according to themselves. Now next is finance. So it is financed by annual budget allocation by the government, and all its earning go to the government treasury. Now the next feature is accounting and audit. Dear students, in departmental undertaking, the government rules relating to audit and accounting are applicable to it. And if we are talking about the staffing, its employees are government employees and are recruited and appointed as per government rules. And these departments or these enterprises are accountable to the concerned ministry, like Ministry of Home Affairs, Ministry of Industries. So these are completely under the control of the particular ministry. Now, on the basis of above definition and above features, we find some merits and demerits in the departmental undertakings, and that is, first, it is more effective in achieving the objective laid down by government, as it is under the direct government control. Second, it is a source of government income and its revenue goes to the government treasury. Third, it is accountable to Parliament for all its action, which ensures proper utilization of funds. And fourth is, it is suitable for activities where secrecy and strict control is required, like defense, production, etc. Now, if we are talking about the demerits, it suffers from interference of ministers and top officials in their workings. So many times it lacks flexibility, which is essential for a smooth operation of the business, and it suffers from red tapeism in day-to-day work. And these organizations are usually insensitive to customers or consumers' needs and do not provide good adequate service to them, because these are under the different departments. So these are not going to make any kind of research and development, and these are going to be controlled by the particular Ministry of State or central. So such organizations are managed by civil servant and government officials who may not have the necessary expertise and experience in management. So dear students, these were few demerits of the departmental undertakings. Now, if we are talking about its suitability, so it is suitable because here full government control is needed, and where secrecy is very important, such as defense, etc. So for these kind of organization it is suitable. Now, second point is, or second types of public sector enterprises, statutory corporation. So if we are talking about the statutory corporation, it is established under the special act passed in the parliament or state legislative assembly. Its objectives, powers and functions are clearly defined in special act. For example, UTI, LIC, MNC, municipal corporation. So we can say that it is established under a special act which defines its objectives, powers and functions, and it has a separate legal entity, and its management is vested in board of directors appointed by or nominated by the government. So it has its own staff recruited and appointed as per the provision of the act, and this type of enterprises is usually independently financed. So it obtains funds by borrowing from government or from public or through earnings. So dear students, it is not the subject to same accounting and audit rule which are applicable to the government department. It has different audit and accounting rules. Now if we are talking about this organization, we find following merits. First is internal autonomy, because it enjoy a good deal of autonomy and its day-to-day operation and is free from political interference. Second is quick decision, because it can take the prompt decision and quick action as it is free from the prohibitory rules of the government. And third, as it is established by the parliamentary action, therefore only parliamentary control is over there. So their performance is subject to the discussion in parliament, which ensures proper use of public money, and it has the efficient management because their directors and top executives are professionals and experts of the different fields. Now if we are talking about the demerits, so in reality there is no much operational flexibility. It suffers from a lot political interference. Usually they enjoy monopoly in their field and do not have profit motive, due to which their working turns out to be insufficient. And where there is dealing with public, rampant corruption exists. Thus public corporation is suitable for undertaking required monopoly powers, for example public utilities. Now if we are talking about the suitability, so it is suitable for the organizing public enterprise when the enterprises required special power under an act, and second, the enterprise required a huge amount of capital investment. So in these two cases, the enterprise or the public company is suitable, public corporation is suitable. Third is government company. So dear students, a government company is a company which not less than 50% of the paid up share capital is led by the central government or state government, or jointly by both. It means a government company is a company in which more than 51% paid up share capital is held or controlled by the state government or central government, or by both. For example, Hindustan Insecticides Limited, State Trading Corporation Limited of India, Hindustan Cables Limited. So these are the government company. Now if we are talking about these government company, so it is registered under Companies Act 1956 or recent Companies Act 2013, or any other previous provision of Companies Act, or under any other scheduled Companies Act, and it has a separate legal entity, and its management is regulated by the provision of Companies Act, where the employees are recruited and appointed as per the rules and regulation and contained in memorandum and article of association. A government company obtain its fund from government shareholdings and other private shareholdings. It can also raise funds from capital market by issuing its shares to the public in the open market. Now on the basis of above discussion, we find following merits in the government company. So first is, it can be easily formed as per the provision of Companies Act. Only an executive decision of government is required. Second, It enjoys autonomy in management, decision and flexibility in day-to-day working. Now, and these are able to control the market and curb the unhealthy business practices. So dear students, these were few merits of the government company. Now it has also some demerits, like it suffers from interference from government officials, ministers and politicians. Second, it evades constitutional responsibility which a company financed by the government should have, as it is not directly answerable to parliament. And the board usually consists the politicians and civil servant who are interested more in pleasing their political bosses than in efficient operation of the company. Now if we are talking about its suitability, so dear students, it is suitable where activities related to finance or to be encouraged, and where the private sector is also needed along with the government. So in these two cases, government company is suitable. So dear students, I hope you all have got the today's topic, that is government company, statutory corporation and departmental undertakings. Thank you. We will discuss ahead in the next video today. Thank you.